came across a video by Answers in Genesis lately, claiming that evolution doesn't happen. I'm sure they've done their research and all the conclusions they reached are rational and logical. Let's take a look.
You hear this one a lot. Science has proven evolution, therefore evolution is true.
No, not exactly. The evidence we have supports evolution, and no other hypothesis can give a better explanation, so evolution is the best theory we have for the diversity of life.
Since evolution is true and Christians don't believe it, then Christians don't believe science and they aren't rational people. Really.
Wow. Straw-manning people by saying they straw-man you. Cute. I'm not saying that Christians or any other religious believer is irrational because they believe, but it is irrational to disregard any evidence out there because it does not conform to your preconceived ideas. Anyone who's been exposed to evidence and chooses to ignore it, well, that is irrational. If evidence for a God is out there, and I choose to ignore it, then I would be the one being irrational.
Let's put that claim to the test. First off, evolution in the sense that things change is evident. No rational person disputes that. Therefore, rational Christians believe it. We can observe change.
Okay, remember that. They can observe change. That's important. Change has been observed, and they admit it happens. Remember that for later.
But evolution in the sense that life came from non-life and then that life began to randomly generate new genetic information and over time it eventually produced humans is something entirely different.
Yes. Life coming from non-life is completely different from evolution. That's abiogenesis. As I've said before, and I guess I'll have to say it again, evolution is not abiogenesis. They are completely different things. Evolution is how and why living things change. Abiogenesis is how life first came about. Different things.
And something that quite honestly doesn't hold up against science. In other words, evolution in the sense of molecules to man is not scientifically plausible and therefore should not be viewed as scientific fact.
It is completely plausible, probable, and so far the best explanation we have as to how humans came about.
Quite honestly, it is in great opposition to science, that is, observational science, the kind of science we can test and repeat and use our five senses to understand.
Yes, we do use what we observe to figure things out. For example, what happened in the past. That's what evidence is. We observe the radioactivity levels of rock layers fossils were found at to work out their age. We observe DNA to work out how closely related two creatures are. Just because we can't see something happening does not mean we don't have observable evidence that it did happen.
Science demonstrates that over time, living organisms lose genetic information. They don't gain it. That same science demonstrates that life doesn't arise from non-life. Follow along if you would.
That's completely nonsensical. You've said before, things change. These changes would be a change in information. Slightly longer legs, slightly stronger backs, these are all changes. So no, mutations do not always lose genetic information. And yes, life can arise from non-life. But they've broken these 2 points up, so let's follow them and refute them as we go.
Fact 1. There is no known observable process by which new genetic information can be added to an organism's genetic code. None.
Yes, this has been shown to occur. The most famous are the Lenski experiments. If you haven't heard about them, it's actually pretty cool. Dr. Richard Lenski and his team took 12 identical strands of E. coli, separated them, and observed their growth over the years. Decades, really. Over the first 1,000 or so generations, the different colonies of bacteria grew over time, at a stable rate. Yes, I hear you say, they all grew, but growing isn't adding new information, it's just change in size. But, if the information in the cell says to grow larger, that is a change in information. So that blows AIG's first claim, that information is always lost, out of the water. Well, here's where it starts getting really interesting. In 2008, 20 years after this experiment started, Dr. Lenski's team discovered the size of one of the populations of E. coli exploding. Apparently, this strand had developed the ability to metabolize the citrate they were being stored in, which is something wild E. coli can't do. A brand new ability. So there you go. New information that is beneficial added to the organism.
That pretty much refutes evolution right away because there's no way to go from a fish to an amphibian without adding new information, right?
Well, we just showed that new information can be added. Now yes, the E. coli was still a bacterium, but this change happened over 20 years. Now, after the several billion years that life has had on this planet, small changes like that can add up. Using natural selection, the beneficial mutations like that are kept. The organism thrives, changes, repeats until we have the diversity of life that we're experiencing on the planet right now.
If living organisms cannot produce new genetic information, how can anything gradually change into something of higher intelligence or form or complexity? That is, how can anything evolve from an amoeba to a man without adding new genetic information? The answer, of course, is that it can't, plain and simple.
Since new genetic information can be added, and this has been shown under laboratory conditions, that pretty much destroys your first argument.
Now, some have speculated and they have imagined all kinds of things, and they brought in artists to produce creative renderings based on guesses, and they have been successful in telling a very convincing story that humans evolved from ape-like creatures. But those are just drawings, people. They're just stories.
Alright, I want to show you something. This is Dorma latori. It's believed to be the ancestor of both dogs and cats. So, if anyone ever says a cat can never turn into a dog, this is where they both come from. This is an artist's rendering, like the good folks at AIG brought up. However, the picture was not made up out of whole cloth. They used discovered fossils to figure out how they looked and base their guesses on that. And yes, this is a picture, and it could be wrong. That's why dinosaur pictures are out of date. Since we discovered that some most likely had feathers, the pictures we had before that discovery didn't have them. New information was found that was added to our knowledge of them, making the old beliefs out of date and replace them with better understandings.
What we really observe is humans are humans and apes are apes.
Slight quibble here. We are apes. We share very recent, in evolutionary terms, ancestors with modern apes. Homo sapiens, and I'm sure there are many conservatives out there who want the name changed to heterosapien, are members of the great ape family.
Now, if Fact 1 buried evolutionary thinking deep into the Precambrian soil, this next fact, Fact 2, tosses so much sediment on it that not even the greatest team of paleontologists with the latest subterranean gizmo could dig up the remains. Check this out. Never, again, never has it been observed that life can come from non-life.
Okay, again, evolution is not abiogenesis. Even if you could disprove how life first got here, and you can't, it does not in any way change our view on how life evolves. Also, we have shown how life could have started. Scientists have been able to create self-replicating RNA in laboratory conditions. Now, for the sake of honesty, something our friends at AIG seem to disregard, I want to make 2 points to this. First, this does not say how life did start, just how self-replicating molecules could have formed. It was a proof of concept experiment. Second, yes, these molecules were created by an intelligence, the scientists, but that was using existing chemicals that could be found in nature. With the billions of years and trillions of gallons of mixing chemicals in the primordial world, it is not out of the realm of possibility that one time the conditions were right and the right chemicals were mixed to create life. And one time is all that was needed to start the infestation of this world with life.
Here are 2 major scientific evidences against evolution. I reiterate for clarity, life has never been observed to come from non-life.
A proof of concept shows that it could have happened and has been observed.
And there is no known, observable process by which new genetic information can be added to the genetic code of an organism.
That, too, has shown to have happened.
So, molecules to man evolution doesn't really make scientific sense.
It makes complete sense. And, so far, is the only plausible explanation we have for the diversity of life we find on this planet.
Yet we are all here, and life is all around us in various forms. Although evolution cannot account for this,
Yes, it can. It absolutely can account for all the different life on the planet. Small changes over long periods of time create creatures so different they can't breed with other offshoots of their ancestors, making them different species.
the Bible can.
The Bible can make a claim, but if it has no evidence besides itself to support those claims, there is no reason for us to believe those claims.
The Bible reveals that the all-powerful, all-knowing, supernatural God created the heavens and the earth out of nothing, and all life according to its kinds, that is, each with its own set of genetic information.
So, where's the proof the Bible is right? Scientists have the evidence they have unearthed, and theories confirmed through experimentation and observation. The Bible has claims that go against what we know about the natural world, so which is more likely to be right? Honestly, I'll lean towards experimentation and evidence over baseless claims any day.
So, again, what the Bible reveals makes sense of what we see and understand. Evolution does not. Enough said.
Okay, if. And that's a big if. Evidence was brought forth to show that evolution was incorrect. That does not therefore mean we'd have to turn to the Bible. At that point we would say, we don't know. We wouldn't jump to any supernatural claims and say this must be true until it has evidence given to show it is true. The debate on how life began and how it diversified is not between science and the Bible. It's between what we have evidence for and what we don't. And if one theory falls through, we do not automatically say, I guess the supernatural is the answer. We simply say, we don't know, so we need to start observing the universe more to figure out what's out there. Evolution is still the best theory we have to explain the diversity of life, and is the only one with any evidence behind it. Enough said.
Got a